Hello, friends. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to today's episode on the Rachel Varga podcast. As always, we're live, we're unfiltered, we're unedited on the Rachel Varga official Facebook pages and YouTube channel. Drop your questions in the comments section. And before we talk all about skin nutrients, beauty pills, and the latest research on different skin conditions, this is an exciting episode. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you know when I go live next. So, Francois Vix was scheduled to be on today's show, but thanks to Mercury retrograde, technology is malfunctioning. Drop me a message in the comment section if you are experiencing that as well. Anyways, I digress. We're going to reschedule for next week, but actually, I'm going to take this time to just kind of tease you all a little bit as to the different skin supplements and the research that we're going to be dropping. I think that everything always ends up working its way out in the way that's just right for all of us at just the right time. Maybe next week there's going to be some people that are going to hop on the call and get even more out of it. So share this episode. We're going to go live next week with Francois Vix. He's the founder of Glycedin Skin Nutrients from France. So what I want to just mention is that this is a brand with third-party independent lab testing over 15 years. The company itself doesn't even have to do research on their products anymore. Other companies are doing it for them. Those are the type of skin nutrients, beauty pills, supplements, products that you want to put your faith and trust in, not just relying on research made by the manufacturer, because that's going to have an inherent bias. If you want to learn more about how to become a more discerning consumer, be sure to check out my episode on Fact Checking 101 with my good friend and co-host Katie Type A, who is a professionally trained journalist. All right, so let's just get into briefly here what my clients are saying about using Glycedin and some of the things that they're starting to notice. I just got a lovely email from a client of mine, Krista, talking about how she's been taking the skin brightening supplement here. So this one is specifically for melasma, hyperpigmentation, brown spots, age spots, things like that. And I take it to give myself a little bit of an internal sunscreen, if you will, because I love going outside in the sun, but I don't always want to slather my whole body, stem to stern, with sunscreen. So what do? I lean on my internal supplements to reduce my body's propensity to burn, because I'm what you consider Fitzpatrick skin type 2. So when I go in the sun, I burn in about 5-10 minutes. It's like clockwork. I cannot tan to save my life. So one of the things that I do to kind of work around that is to chock or block my body full of antioxidants. So some of the other things I'm hearing my clients say in regards to the specific supplement is they have less of a propensity to burn, and they're developing a more even tan, which is very interesting. I had this testimonial come into my inbox yesterday from a client who's been now on the supplement for the last 2 summers. And now that she's getting into this summer, she's like, Rachel, I've never noticed this before, but my tan is more even, which is fantastic. So let me just break down the name of this specific product. And no, I'm not paid to talk about this product, but y'all are tuning in here to get the latest and greatest. And I do not take your trust lightly. So thank you so much for taking this journey with me. So glycedin harnesses the power of a very potent antioxidant called superoxide dismutase. I'm going to be, right now, I'm pretty happy that I've taken Gen Chem, Organic Chem, Biochem, so I can break down the science of this for you. So typically when you take an antioxidant, you're going to be having one, like vitamin C or vitamin E in that antioxidant, one molecule of that neutralize one molecule of a free radical, or an atom of free radical. So what is really cool about Glycedin is one molecule of superoxide dismutase can neutralize 1 million up to 1 billion free radicals. So it's super potent. It's actually derived from French melons. And if you know anything about wine, some of the cleanest wines are actually coming out of France because of their farming practices. So looking at supplements goes a lot deeper than who's the latest celebrity talking about it. And it goes a lot deeper into where the ingredients are actually sourced from and then where it's manufactured. And this is really important for you guys to know. And by the way, if you want Glycedin, send me an email, info@rachelvarga.ca, and I can help you figure out which product out of the product line is going to be most helpful for your specific skin goals. And as you guys know, this isn't medical information. This is educational information only. If you think you have a medical condition, you must seek the guidance of a licensed physician. 100%, I still want you guys to wear your sunscreen, mineral-based sunscreen, every day that ends with a Y. That's every day, guys, in case you missed that joke with my very dry humor. And I do recommend taking these antioxidants as well. And in my latest conversation with JJ Virgin, freaking health icon, she and nutritionist, she was saying that to pair your antioxidants with omegas is definitely what you want to be doing to reduce oxidative stress. So what's oxidative stress? That is something that creates your cells to kind of like messes with their normal functions. And what happens when our cells don't function normally? Mutations can happen, right? Things can happen. Cells can start to break down, or they make byproducts that are not ideal, and you're going to mess with your aging. You're actually going to mess with your cellular aging, which will then downstream have an impact on your skin aging. You're going to have more of a propensity to things like diffuse redness, age spots, hypopigmentation, like vitiligo. Okay, so Francois is going to be dropping some of the latest research on vitiligo when we have him back on the show next week. And he's just a wealth of knowledge. We actually had the pleasure of, I had him over, what was that, about two years ago. He's one of my first guests actually on the podcast when it came out. He's someone who believed in me right out of the gate, which is pretty cool. And he's going to be dropping some of the latest research on vitiligo. Now, when we met a couple of years ago, he actually showed me some pretty crazy photos of some before and afters of the successes that people have had with this particular product and this particular protocol on vitiligo. So this is something with the skin that a lot of people struggle with. How do you deal with vitiligo? What are the best products, light treatments? So we're going to get into the weeds on that and the latest research, because every time you make a decision for yourself, you do not want to be basing it on information or headlines. You want to be turning that information into knowledge and then to intelligence. So the way that I want to encourage you all to think is in that way, and to not just take information at first glance, because that's information. It's not knowledge. It's not applied information. And looking at multiple international sources for not just your skin's nutrients, but everything else. I'm going to be also talking about, right now, I just want to do a little bit of a PSA. I do have a one-on-one in just a few minutes here. So I want to give a little bit of a shout out to a supplement that was on the market. It was touted as being this amazing hair, skin, nail supplement. You'd see celebrities, you'd see social influencers posing with this dyed blue gummy in their mouth. Okay, so I had people asking me, Rachel, what do you think about this supplement? Do you think it's garbage? Do you think it's, something I should worth investing my time and money in and ingest in my body? So this is kind of like my process. I will go on to the website, right? Like the sales page, the website, and I'm always looking for research. So if you actually want to get your hands on my 3 academically published, one of them is an award-winning article, my very first one actually, which is pretty cool. You can actually read my research at rachelvarga.ca/research. And all past podcast interviews are on rachelvarga.ca/blog. That information and the links are going to be in the description box of this episode. Everything's at rachelvarga.ca. So anyways, I go on this website for this gummy bear, the supplement, and I scroll down and, they say things like as seen in Cosmopolitan and this magazine and that magazine, featured by this celebrity, that celebrity. That's called like social credibility, but it's BS, because what companies can do is they can actually pay for those placements. And I know this because I actually have gone to events talking about how to get, in the media more. And there's a lot of paid placements. I don't do any paid placements, right? So when people collaborate with me and things like that, they're collaborating with me because they trust me and they want me to contribute my voice on a certain thing, and I don't have to pay for those placements. But when you see as seen in, sometimes there can be a degree or an element of actually paying to have that placement and then put it on the website. And what that does is it gives people social credibility. So it makes people trust them more. But that is not the right trust that you want. That's not the type of trust that you need when you're looking at skin and body supplements and all of that. And be sure to drop your questions in the comment section. I'm going to get to a couple of them at the end of the call here or throughout. So yes, I see the social credibility. It's in all these top magazines, paid to be there, yada, yada. Scroll down, look at where it's made. It says manufactured in the USA. And then I look at the ingredients list. Okay, that's fine. The other thing you want to think about is where are those ingredients sourced from, okay? So when we're thinking about the sourcing of ingredients, this is different than where it's manufactured. I want you guys to start paying attention to this in everything from what you're putting on your body, in your body, what you're cooking with, what you're eating. Just because it's saying made in or manufactured doesn't mean it's a product of. So you can actually go on LabDoor. And LabDoor is an independent lab that people can hire for their services. So a YouTube blogger actually took some of these gummies to this lab, and the lab did a third-party independent test on the ingredients. So read between the lines with this message, guys, because there's a lot of things on the market right now that do not have any independent third-party lab testing. The research and the content and the information that isn't technically knowledge or intelligence does have an inherent bias because it's presented by the manufacturer. So what LabDoor determined with these gummies was that in the 2 gummies that are recommended for the, daily amount you're supposed to take to improve your hair, skin, and nails, in 2 gummies, there was an exceeding the level of recommended daily allowance for lead was exceeded in taking 2 gummies a day. So what that tells me is probably some of those ingredients or constituents in that product were being sourced overseas. And there are some Oriental countries that are just awful. And they're known for, not that the country's awful, but a lot of the products coming out of there are not necessarily to be trusted because they have been tainted with heavy metals. And we see this a lot. We see this with dermal rollers, right? Dermal rollers being made with heavy metal alloys as opposed to titanium and surgical steel. And just because you buy something on Amazon or eBay and it says in that little description box what the needles or blades are made of doesn't mean it's actually true. So just so you know that, just because you read information doesn't actually mean it's knowledge and intelligence. So I'm really hoping to get your wheels turning a little bit and be more discerning. So when you actually do your research on companies and that type of stuff comes forward, not to mention, is the creator or founder of that company, are they just like a serial entrepreneur? That can also be a bit of a red flag. So one of the things I like about Skin Glycidin, the Glycidin Skin Nutrients lineup, is that they have over 15 years worth of third-party independent lab testing. I trust that. And again, just send me an email as to which option could be right for you, info@rachelvarga.ca. There is a brightening formula that's wonderful and also email me for like a code and stuff like that to save a bit of money. And this one is the one I like to recommend for clients that are suffering with melasma. But the other thing is that you need to understand is that it's never just going to be one thing that's going to solve the problem. So I don't love this actually, but I'm being a bit sarcastic. People will DM me or email me and say, hey, what's this product? Can you recommend a moisturizer for acne prone skin or a sunscreen that doesn't make me break out or, whatever. It's never just going to be one thing. It's always going to be pieces of the puzzle. So pairing your skin nutrients with a solid skincare routine that I can help you figure out, that I've helped, thousands of my clients figure out over the last 10 and a half years, then that's kind of getting you on a more sort of holistic track for aging well, as opposed to putting all your eggs in one basket. There's another product in the Glycidin lineup that is a super potent antioxidant enzyme and has some other cool ingredients in it as well, that again has research to prove that it reduces things like internal oxidative stress, inflammation, or as Francois Vic said a couple years ago when I first interviewed him, inflammaging. And if you've heard anybody else say the inflammaging, it actually came from Francois. I'm pretty sure of that. So there's a couple of different products in the Glycidin lineup, but what I can recommend for you is going to vary depending on what your needs are. Are you acne prone? Do you have rosacea? Do you have vitiligo? Do you have a propensity to develop melasma? Oftentimes, there's actually other things we need to investigate, such as the air quality in your home. What are some of the other toxins that you might be exposed to? What's your gut health doing? Because your everything that's going on aside will reflect on whether or not your insides are happy and healthy, because your skin's your largest organ. It's going to reflect that. So let me know if you have any questions. But the Francois Weeks, we're going to share next week the latest research on vitiligo. He also, at the start of lockdown and all this stuff, he actually was circulating a paper to aesthetic nurses, aesthetic doctors that work with Glycidin, actually a research article that helps that showed that the superoxide dismutase in the Glycidin product helps with lung fibrosis, which is very interesting. So this is kind of another example of a helpful product that didn't really make its way into mainstream, but did still have research to back it up. So just because you don't always hear about something doesn't necessarily mean that it's not good, but you always want to be looking at the research, make sure it's third-party lab tested and all of that. And I gave that example of that gummy bear that was lab tested and it was determined to have lead in it, which is just awful. And I remember hearing, because I was actually a long time ago considering becoming a naturopathic doctor myself, and I went to this open house and started to read some of the research in the naturopathic journals. And there was actually a link between high fructose corn syrup and mercury and toxic heavy metals. So it's really interesting to also consider that certain products, when they're processed in a certain way, can actually have this other type of action and this other type of, what's the word that I'm looking for? Mechanism of action, or something that wasn't expected to happen with that ingredient, or also with the ingredients together. So when we're thinking about skincare products, just because a product has this ingredient like hyaluronic acid, retinol, glycolic acid, and other antioxidants, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is how those ingredients are actually coming together and working cohesively, or if there's actually some interaction. So just reading the ingredients label isn't always the best thing to do. You do want to look at what the final formulation is actually doing and achieving safety, efficacy, all that stuff. And I also see another parallel in aesthetic medicine. So a lot of people are doing mesotherapy right now, microdroplet technique. They're mixing and matching neuromodulators, dermal fillers. In my conversations with some of my top highly respected published aesthetic nurses across Canada and the US, is that this is kind of a bad idea, because it's again the pharmacokinetics of possible ingredients having some type of interaction that either isn't expected, or you don't know about the interaction until later in the game. So I just had a question here. This is perfect timing because I'm going to wrap it up. Matthew says, "You are brilliant, Rachel." Wow. Well, that's very kind of you. I do appreciate your kind words. But everybody, make sure you tune in to our live call. We're rescheduling with Francois Weeks, just some technical issues. I'm, again, blaming Mercury retrograde, computer updates, all that funny stuff. But yeah, he is a rock star, and he is the founder and CEO of Glycidin Skin Nutrients, which is a skin supplement I trust because of the over 15 years of third-party independent lab testing, and a product that comes from France. And if you know anything about products, wine, skincare, food, the crops, they don't use the glyphosate like what's used in North America as pesticides. And so a lot of the products, even like alcohol and beer and things like that, when I've been to Europe, I tend to tolerate even bread and beer better than what I actually get here, which is really interesting. So all of these actually play into your aging process. So stick with me. I'll keep you guys on the straight and narrow. That's it for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. And be sure to subscribe on the Rachel Varga official Facebook page and YouTube channel. Send me an email if you have a question, info@rachelvarga.ca, and use promo code podcast15 to book your one-on-one session with me, where I will review with you what exactly are your skin goals? What are you hoping to achieve? What's been bothering you? What have you noticed change in your skin over the last 5, 10 years, 15 years? And then I'll help you create a plan for what you can do at home with your skincare routine, antioxidant supplements, dermal rolling, some other really cool at-home biohacking devices, and then also give you a plan for what you can do in the clinic so that when you show up into the clinic, you're going to be a little bit more savvy than signing up for that package of 6 of, this treatment that isn't going to give you really what you're wanting. So that's what people pay me for. They pay me for my insight to help keep them on the straight and narrow, which is then going to save them a lot of time and money based on my 10 and a half years in the industry and over 20,000 rejuvenation procedures. Can't wait to meet with you soon. And the links for hanging out with me, booking your one-on-one with me is in the description box below. Have an excellent day, everybody. And I will see you in the next episode. Oh, just kidding. There's actually another question that came through here, and this is a really good one. Thanks, Matthew. Matthew says, I agree with you 100% about putting the right things in your body and on your skin, preservatives and hormones. Well, it's actually certain ingredients that mess with your hormones, especially with guys with hair loss, ED, all sorts of stuff, and extra things added in to make people sick. Not necessarily added to make people sick, but they could be like manufacturing byproducts, or they're just cheaper ingredients to use. So that was actually a really great question. So we got to clean up our act, and in one-on-one calls, I go through exactly what you're using, what's going on with your current routine in your home, things like that, because they all play into reducing things like skin inflammation, age spots, sunspots, vitiligo, accelerated aging, acne, all of that. It's not just going to be one thing. It's going to be a multitude of things. So that's what I do. And I can't wait to hang out with you soon. Have a great day, everybody.